A night to remember. The sleepover that turned into a nightmare. It was the start of summer break, and my best friend Kenzie had invited me and two other friends, Bella and Zoe, over for a sleepover at her house. Sleepovers at Kenzie's were always a highlight of our summers. Her parents were laid back, and her house was massive, with an attic that doubled as a cozy hangout space. But this time, the night would unfold in ways we could never have anticipated, a haunting reminder of the dangers we didn't believe were real. Kenzie's parents were heading out to a charity gala that evening, leaving us alone until the early hours of the morning. "Don't stay up too late," her mom said, kissing Kenzie on the forehead as her dad ushered her out the door. "We won't," Kenzie called back, already plotting our late-night activities. As the door closed behind them, the four of us sprawled across Kenzie's beanbags in her attic, a space filled with fairy lights, soft rugs, and throw pillows. We scrolled through social media, shared memes, and gossiped about school. It felt like any other night, safe, warm, and full of laughter. The strangers signaled. At around 10 p.m., Bella suggested we order pizza. We pooled our money, placed the order, and decided to kill time by taking silly pictures and dancing to music. The pizza arrived soon after, delivered by a quiet teenager who handed over the box without a word. As we carried the pizza back to the attic, Zoe noticed something odd. Guys?" she said, pointing to Kenzie's desk where her laptop sat open.
Yeah!
"Did one of you leave the webcam on?" We stared at the screen. The webcam light was glowing, and a video feed was displayed on the monitor. It was us, but none of us had turned it. Kenzie frowned. "Maybe I accidentally hit something earlier?" She moved to close the video, but before she could, the feed froze, and text began typing itself into the chat box below the vid. "I see." Our laughter stopped. "Kenzie, is this a prank?" Bella asked, her voice tinged with unease. Kenzie shook her head, her face pale. "Number, I swear, it's not me." Suddenly, the screen flickered, and a shadow moved across the frozen video feed. It wasn't one of us. The figure was tall and cloaked in darkness, its form barely "Turn it off!" Kenzie slammed the laptop shut, and we tried to laugh it off. "Probably just a glitch," I said, though my voice betrayed my nerves. The unseen intruder. Hours passed. The attic felt warmer than usual, and despite our attempts to distract ourselves, the memory of the strange message lingered. Around midnight, we decided to review the video. Against our better judgment, we opened the laptop again, but the feed was gone. Relief washed over us, but it was short. "What's that?" Bella said, pointing to the far corner of the room. We turned our heads in unison. There, on Kenzie's desk, was an old photograph that hadn't been there before. It showed four girls standing in a dark room, their faces eerily similar to ours. "That wasn't here earlier," Kenzie said, her voice trembling. "Who put this?" No one answered. The air grew thick with "Let's go downstairs," Zoe suggested, and none of us argued. A shadow in the house. The living room felt safer, though not by much. We huddled on the couch, flipping through channels in search of something mindless to watch. The sound of the television filled the space, but it didn't drown out the unease that had settled over. Then came. It was soft at first, almost polite, as if someone were testing the wall. "Did your parents forget their keys?" Bella asked, but Kenzie shook her head. She crept to the door, peering through the peephole.
Tea!
Another knock followed, louder this time. Zoe grabbed the nearest lamp and held it like a weapon. "Maybe we should call your parents," she said. Kenzie hesitated but nodded. She picked up her phone and dialed her mom. The call went straight to voice. "We're being paranoid," I said, trying to calm everyone down. But as I spoke, the back door creaked open, its hinges groaning in protest. A face in the dark. We froze. The sound of footsteps echoed from the kitchen. Heavy, deliberate steps, like someone who knew we were there and wanted us to know it. "Upstairs," Kenzie whispered. Now, we scrambled back to the attic, locking the door behind us. Zoe shoved a chair under the doorknob for good. "What do we do?" Bella whispered, tears streaming down her face. Kenzie grabbed her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed 911. She barely got the words out before the line went dead. The lights flickered, plunging us into dark. "No, no, no," Zoe muttered, fumbling for her flashlight. She turned it on, the beam cutting through the gloom. In the corner of the room stood the shadowy figure from the video. It was closer now, its form more defined. Its face was obscured, but its intent was clear. It wanted the final stand. Stay together, Kenzie said, her voice firm despite the terror in her eyes. We huddled, gripping whatever we could find as makeshift weapons. The figure didn't move, but seemed to watch, savoring our. Then, without warning, it lunged. The room erupted into chaos as we screamed and swung blindly. The shadow was fast, too fast, dodging our attacks with inhuman agility. The window, Bella shouted. She threw open the attic window, and one by one, we climbed out onto the. The figure didn't follow, but stood at the window, watching as we scrambled down to the. We ran into the street, our breaths ragged, and didn't stop until we reached a neighbor's house. They let us in and called the police. The aftermath. When the officers arrived, they found no signs of forced entry, no figure, and no strange photograph. The only evidence was Kenzie's shattered laptop. The screen cracked and unusable. Probably a prank gone wrong, one officer said. But we knew. Kenzie's parents came home soon after, their faces pale when they heard what happened. They assured us it was all in our heads, but their reassurances did little to comfort. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. Every shadow, every creak of the house sent my heart racing. And though we never saw the figure again, the memory linked. Even now, years later, I avoid sleepovers. Some nights, when the world is quiet and the shadows grow long, I swear I can still hear it. The faint sound of footsteps growing close.